Okay. Figure out the best angle here. No, I don't look good from any angle. Doesn't matter. Okay. How many screens do you have open right now? How many? Four. Mhm. Okay. Okay.
Recording in progress.
Sure. Just watching you do this. Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
now we're live with volume because I think I had the volume turned off for the streaming. Someone would have finally let me know that. But
Right.
so I'm live with Steve Lawson from Unbroken Investing. And my name is Malachi from Malachi's Journey to Financial Freedom. And one of the things I'm doing is I'm looking for passive or semi-passive opportunities to make money with the goal of leaving my 9-to-5 job. Mainly, I've been making my money with Forex and then with referrals. And as that grows, I'm going to be looking to expand into other things. And one of the people I ran into in this journey is Steve. So, Steve, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Unbroken Investing?
Sure, appreciate that. Start off a little bit about my background. Again, my name is Steve Lawson, and just kind of looked at my entire career super quick. Spent about 10 years as a financial planner. So stocks, bonds, funds, certified financial planner, registered financial consultant, all that stuff. Did that for 10 years. And then in 2002, I decided, that's not helping people achieve the results they want to achieve. And it seemed to me that real estate was a much better opportunity to actually create wealth and financial freedom. So I switched and started helping people invest in real estate instead of the stocks and bonds in that market. And so I did that. I made that switch in 2002, and that's pretty much all I did until about 2019. So for 17 years, helping people invest. I did a couple hundred flips myself. Did over 500 transactions with investors, helping them acquire rentals. That was the main thing I did for quite some time. And then in 2019, I looked at my portfolio and said, man, this is great, but I'm 95% in real estate. I need diversification myself. And so I started looking for other ways to diversify, not in the stock market, not in real estate, but with an emphasis on passive cash flow, because I set the goal of paying for my kids to go to college with nothing but passive cash flow. And so in 2019, that's when I kind of started my journey to financial freedom, if you will, really more of a quest, obsession, call it what you will, to find passive cash flow. And it actually worked way better than I expected it to. And within a couple of years, I had a lot of passive cash flow. And then people started asking me to kind of show them how I did it. So I started off with doing some trainings, one-on-one consulting. Hire me for 12 sessions, and I'll show you how I created this. And then I started doing that more of as a course. And then I eventually got to the point where I said, you know what? If I do a membership program, I can help more people at once as opposed to just one person, one at a time. And so that was kind of how I got up to Unbroken Investing, which is a community of investors that are all on a quest to achieve financial freedom with passive cash flow. And so we've got a lot of different things we do. The most valuable part for most people are the investments. Again, some of them are the ones that I found that helped me go from zero passive cash flow to over 50,000 a month of passive cash flow. And so what are the investments that I use to get there? But then also, more recently, we've been adding more and more that have been working for members. Some that I'd not heard of before, but every time a member joins, most of them say, man, I tried this is terrible. I tried this, it's terrible. I tried this and it worked really well. Oh, cool, what was that? And then we do a due diligence, we talk to them and see if it makes sense to offer that to the community. So the more members we get, the more opportunities we get. And so that's really the investments themselves have been the biggest benefit for most investors. Just getting opportunities that they would have never found on their own. So that's the single biggest thing. And then there's just the education part. I mean, when you join, I've got a mini course, about an hour. How do you diversify properly? How do you have the mindset for passive cash flow? And how do you create a plan? That sort of stuff. And so there's quite a bit of education to the program, as well as just a lot of community. So 24/7 online community, ask questions, respond, that sort of thing. Numerous weekly calls where you can get on there and actually have conversations, ask questions of me, ask questions of other members. So there's several different components to Unbroken Investing, but access to the investments is probably the most important for most people. But they find that the education and especially the community are the reasons they stay for a while.
Absolutely. So I joined. When did I join? I guess you had just switched over to the new platform in January?
January, yeah.
So I joined the new platform in January,
Okay.
and so I know you do what do you call it? You do a Thursdays is digital assets, and then Mondays is other kinds of investments, right?
Yeah, and essentially the Monday call is really kind of the new opportunity call. hey, based on what here's a new opportunity we haven't talked about. That's really the purpose of those, is to introduce new investments. Here's one where you can borrow money and earn a 40% annual return secured by real estate. How do you do that? Here's this opportunity. The next one, here's
And that's next Monday, right? That 40%
well,
call
it's
is
actually that's a couple weeks away.
okay. 2 weeks away, 3 weeks.
Yeah, we actually got we ended up booking the next 3 Mondays all in a row with different opportunities. So there's 3 separate opportunities coming up.
Okay.
That is the second of those, actually. Yeah, so that'll be on June 10th is when
Okay.
I'll have that one.
So June 10th is a chance to 40% backed by real estate annually. And I know it's, so tell us about how you got, like, how did you get here to this point of picking the investments that you're picking?
Good question. Again, a lot of it started when I looked at my portfolio and realized that I was not properly diversified. And so the emphasis, excuse me, sorry, the emphasis has really been on diversification. And so what we show is in the education and throughout the program, the way the website's laid out, you'll see we go 6 markets wide. And the reason for that is most people think of the stock market as the best way to invest. That's what most people kind of been brainwashed into thinking, oh, I'm supposed to invest, I'm supposed to put money into the stock market. The problem is stock prices are tied to things like interest rates, inflation, and the recession, and they all go up and down together. Now there's, some will go up faster, some go down, so there's a little variance. But if you're in, a portfolio of stocks, most of them are going to go up together and down together. And by diversifying, you can get into things that are not related to the stock market at all. And the best example is agriculture, because 2022, and we had really high inflation, almost 10%. The stock market dropped 20 to 30%. Crypto dropped about 70%, but our cash flow from agriculture went up. And it went up because food prices went up. It's tied directly together. How much we make is based on the price of food. And so it pretty much never goes down, but it went up when everything else went down. And that's just a good example of what we call non-correlated or a not related return. And so by being in 6 different markets that are all not related, any one of them at any given time could go down, but you're protected by having your assets diversified. And so that was really the focus of how do I go find more non-related investments in these different markets. And then once you go 6 wide in those 6 different markets, then how do we go 6 deep so that within any of those markets, you have additional diversification. And so a lot of my time is just spent researching opportunities, trying to find new ones. Hey, what have you heard of that that's worked for you, or something you've thought about doing? Let me check it out. And that's what I spent a lot of time doing over the last 2, 3, 4 years to identify a lot of these opportunities. And so that's how I've come up with them, and to the point now where I'm actually getting them coming in faster than I can handle, which is good. But again, it's a snowball effect. I mean, 4 years ago when I was asking, and I mean, it took 6 months to find one, and then it took the next 6 months I found 3. Okay, then and it just kind of kept going faster and faster, and now I'm getting at least 1 new opportunity every week.
Okay.
And so, but that's because I have so many feelers out there. So many people know, oh, if I see a good cash flow deal, I'm going to let Steve know about it. So I just keep getting them. I don't want to say falling into my lap, but people let me know about them.
So in your community, on your online community, I do have a link down here to sign up. But in the community, what should people expect to see in there?
So on the online part, when you log in, you'll see that there's an education part. So like the mini course that I'd mentioned, that's got the education. There are meetups. And so we're talking earlier, we have the Monday meetup where we talk about new opportunities. I also have a Monday meetup that I call office hours. And I tell people it's just like a professor at college. If you have a question, show up and ask. If you don't have any question, you don't need to be there. And so that's pretty simple. I do those on Mondays. Also in the meetup section is Thursdays, we talk about digital assets. And then I've got another office hours on Thursdays. And I will give you a quick insight. We are in the process of adding 2 more weekly calls coming up very soon. One will definitely be on real estate, and I think I know what the other one's going to be, but it's not set yet. But just, again, more and more opportunities to learn more about investments and to get educated. So you'll find that in the community under meetups. You can also click on investments, and that's where it opens up all these different opportunities. And so the first page is just kind of a summary of the different markets, and then you click on that market, and then it's going to open up all the opportunities within that market. And so you can see, oh, in the agriculture market, there's these handful here. There's the mangoes, there's the avocados, there's this, and then there's a brief description of each one, and then you click on that, and it opens up into a full evaluation. And I talk about how what it is, how it works, the company behind it, and our experience with it. Hey, I've been in this for 3 years and it's been doing great, or I've been in it for a week. Just so people know, here's how long, here's what my experience has been, and also, I talk about all the pros, but also the cons. Hey, keep this in mind. This isn't liquid, or here's the risk of this, and so that has a kind of a breakdown of what you can expect with that investment opportunity. And then at the bottom of that is, you're interested, here's how you take the next step. Sometimes it's clicking a link, sometimes it's reaching out to us for an introduction, sometimes you can go, it just varies with each one. And so a lot of them, we're automating this, but we need to make the connection for you, or you should at least reference us, because of the volume, we get better deals. So I can tell you, for example, there's some opportunities that we are in that have $100,000 minimum investment, except for our members, it's only $10,000. And so there's a lot of things like that. And if you don't mention us, then, oh gosh, I didn't realize it was such, I had 50, I didn't realize that, never mind. And you end up passing, but you tell them, hey, no, I'm with Unbroken Investing, you get the lower minimum. With others, opportunities, some of them have a discount where your investment, you get the same thing for 10 or 20% less upfront. So there's just some different perks and benefits. And so we have the instructions in there on here's what you need to do to make sure you're getting in contact with this opportunity and taking advantage of any special perks that we have for you as a member.
So you talk about us going 6 wide on your investments for diversity. Can you tell us what the 6 categories are, or the 6 wide investment opportunities you would be looking at?
Yes. And so first of all, I'm going to make a big subdivide. These are cash flowing opportunities. Okay. And we call those streams. You get streams of income. The money's always flowing in, right? And there are also some wells, and that's money that just kind of sits there in case you ever need it. Okay. And it doesn't generate cash flow, but it might be growing. Frankly, your tech stocks would probably fit into that category. Gold, different things like that, hey, it's sitting there. I know it's there if I ever need it, but it's not generating a stream of passive cash flow. Okay. So first of all, set all the wells aside. We'll just look at the streams. And so with the streams, we go, like I said, 6 wide. And the stock market, that's the most obvious. That's 1. Real estate, that's 2. Agriculture, I mentioned that a minute ago. That's a 3rd market. A 4th one is notes. And basically, it's a promissory note. You're a lender, but usually secured by real estate. And that could be a one-on-one loan with a kind of as a hard money lender, or that can be part of a larger portfolio. There's a variety of different opportunities we have where you are actually a lender, usually secured by real estate. And most people think, well, if it's secured by real estate, what do you earn, 4, 5, 6%? Never do we earn anything less than 10, and a lot of them are 12 to 14% or more. And so you can actually earn really good returns secured by real estate. So that is the notes or lending market.
Okay.
Another market is businesses. And when I say that, I mean, if you look at how wealth is created, go look at the 100 wealthiest people in America, and almost every one of them got there because they started a business or multiple businesses. The only ones that didn't start a business were the ones that made it on real estate. But most of them, it was from business. And I'm not suggesting that you need to, go be the next, Gates or whatever. But if you own a business that cash flows, you can create a lot of wealth. You can get above average returns. And even better is if you can own a business that somebody else manages for you. And so that's a lot of what we do on the business side of things is, how do you own businesses where you've got someone else managing for you and you just get the passive cash flow. One of the best examples of that would be an Amazon store. I've got a couple of Amazon stores and several other e-commerce stores, and I've got a third party that manages them. And just every month I've got several thousand that come in from each one of those, and that's passive cash flow. takes me 30 minutes a month, maybe to, do a few odds and ends with it, but that's it. I don't have to manage it. But that's the business market, and that's one of those 6 markets. The last one is digital assets. And that one, most people just think of crypto, and that's definitely one of them. You've got crypto, NFTs, and different things like that. And there's things you can do within that market. And I say that, sitting here being interviewed by the person who knows more about that market than I do. But it's crypto, and then we get into Forex and trading and things like that. Again, not to be a trader, but to learn how to invest so that a genius like Malachi can trade for you and make you passive cash flow. And so that's that digital asset component. And we have a third-party fund that we work with. And I won't share the name right now, but I've been with them for over a year and a half, and they broke their streak last month. They had never earned less than 10% in any month until last month. They had their worst month ever. They apologized profusely. They barely made 3% last month. So, but they did make 17% the month before, so I'll grant them a little slack.
Right.
But they do crypto trading, and so that's within that digital asset market as well. And there's a few other opportunities that kind of fall into that digital asset market. So those are the 6 categories: stocks, real estate, notes, agriculture, businesses, and digital assets.
So if you were to pick, say, 1 or 2 of the projects that you really, really like, why don't you pick one and tell us about it? Tell us how it works, what it is, what it does, and how much it makes for you.
Okay. So many to choose from. Well, I'll start with the fund I was just talking about. And the reason I like it, it's based in the U.S., just outside of Charlotte. So I've got the guy's address. I can go knock on his door if something goes really wrong. I know where he is. But it is U.S. based. They abide by U.S. Rules, regulations, securities regulations, all that sort of stuff. But they've been around a while. When I say a while in this industry, I mean, it's a couple of years. They got started in 2022, but they have been growing very quickly because they've been generating fantastic results month after month. Like I said, the worst month they've had, they barely made 3%. Every other month, they've made at least 10. And so you look over a long period of time, my initial investment with them, they tripled it in about 13 months. And so that was pretty darn good. I was happy with that, and so I put in more. And another thing I like about them is my initial investment was inside of a self-directed 401k Roth. So all those gains, I'll never pay taxes on. I don't pay taxes on the growth. I don't pay taxes when I pull them out. And so I'm going to just let that grow. Those huge gains, I don't have to pay taxes on it because it's inside a Roth. Now, after they tripled that, I liked them so much that I said, I'm going to put in a lot more money. And I put in some that's just outside of my 401k and Roth plan. And so, yeah, I'll have to pay taxes on those. But again, just getting great returns in those. But I like the fact that they work with either. You can do a self-directed IRA, self-directed Roth, 401k, any of those things, as well as just regular money.
So
that's one of the favorites. Yeah.
I get a lot of viewers that are not always from the U.S. Is that something that non-U.S. people can invest in?
That is a good question, and I'm 99% sure the answer is yes, because they trade in crypto, they do also accept investing in crypto. Now, I don't know how they handle like tax reporting for foreign, in foreign countries. I don't know how any of that works, but I could certainly put you in touch with them and they could tell you. But I would be surprised if they did not work with foreign investors.
Okay.
Pretty sure they do.
And then what's the minimum to invest in that?
Good question. That one is $25,000. That is their minimum.
And you've been with them, I think you said, for 13 months?
No, I hit 13 months in January, and the first 13 months is when the money tripled. But no, I since put more money in, but I've been with them since late 2022. So it's over 18 months now.
So the first 13 months was almost 200% then, is that correct? Is my math correct?
That is correct.
Very nice.
Yes.
So if you were to pick something else, what would you pick to tell us about? Just whatever your next favorite thing is.
I tell you, I've got 2 of them. I'm going to mention one of them.
All right.
Just because I mentioned the early Amazon store. And so pretty simple. You pay a company and they start and run your Amazon store for you. And I've done this a few times, and I'll admit it has not always worked well. It's up to the manager. Well, right now I have two Amazon stores that are both doing quite well. And so I'm very happy with where both of those are now and the direction they're going. Uh, and so you're looking at sales. Both of them are over $10,000 a month in sales. They've got a margin of nearly 20%. So that's about a $2,000 per month of profit for each one of those. And so that's something that, other than a little bit of setup, I haven't had a whole lot to do. Every now and then, Amazon will do some audit, and I'll have to send another picture of my passport or proof of a credit card statement that it's really me, something like that. But other than that, I mean, again, I'm spending less than 30 minutes a month to make several $1,000s per store, and so that's one that I would recommend. That's been working really well for me, and I've shared that with other investors in the group recently as well. So. And like I said, and I've been with that one for, there's two of those. One I've been with since January, and already, actually, we just passed 15,000 a month in the last 30 days of sales. And the other one got started later. The other one didn't start until March, and they're already over 10,000 a month of sales.
Okay.
And so both of those are doing quite well.
So I know you talked before about this Amazon stores. I did a lot of research, and a lot of stuff I read is this done for you Amazon stores are all scams. And I like that you're testing it out for us first. Tell us about how you ended up. Like, have you done this before where it hasn't worked, or has it worked for you? Like, what's the win loss rate on something like that?
I'd love to say that everything I've ever invested in has been flawless, but so the first Amazon store that I invested in a couple years ago, it was a miserable failure to the point where I did speak with the sheriff recently. The warrant is being issued this week for his arrest. It went badly. It went not just for me, but for many others. And basically, he was charging a fee, and he was supposed to be sending it to a third party to run the store for you. And he wasn't even sending them the money. He was just telling them, hey, open these people's stores for them. He wasn't sending them money, so they stopped working. Well, yeah, just, I mean, absolute fraud from the beginning. And so that one was by far the biggest failure of any of them. I did have another one that I'd started. This one actually, so I started this one inside my 401k. They thought they could do it. So I had it for about 3-4 weeks, and they could not verify it the way they thought they could. So they ended up just sending me my money back.
Okay.
But that company, again, so it wasn't a fraud, but they couldn't do it. But we did have, I want to say 4 other members that did invest with that group, and their stores, that group really grew very quickly. I mean, to the point, I think they've hit almost 1,000 stores now. There were 700 stores, last year, and I think they've passed 1,000, but they grew, and then they kind of leveled off for a while when they implemented new systems, right? Were so big that they had to implement some special systems, so their own tracking. They created their own tracking software. They bought several new warehouses around the country, and they also negotiated deals. Like they're big enough now that they have a deal directly with. I just forgot the name of the company in Cincinnati. They make Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble, and so toothpaste and laundry detergent, all those, they make all those things. And so they have a deal directly with them as a supplier.
Okay.
And again, just because they're so big, they have another deal directly with Nike. And so they get Nike stuff. So the bottom line is I do not have a store with them. A few members do, and it's doing pretty good. But the 2 new stores that I have are doing much better and growing faster and more profitable.
Nice.
So a total of 4 attempts. 1 failure, 1 that didn't work for me, but it worked for other members, and the other 2 have gone much better.
Okay.
I've gotten pickier.
getting pickier on what it is.
Knowing what to look for and what to avoid. Yeah.
So I know one of the other things we've talked about is we actually just got back from Mexico, and I did some videos down there with you in them, in fact, but was rental arbitrage. So
that's the other one I was going to talk about. Yep.
Tell us about rental arbitrage, and tell us, now that I think you have a property that's being listed, tell us about the successes or failures on it as well.
Yeah. So let me explain what the concept is first. And first of all, I love the concept. You don't buy the real estate you take advantage of price discrepancies. I mean, that's what arbitrage is. And so you can go rent a property with a 1 year a 1 year contract with monthly lease payments at one rate, and then you sell it out nightly at a higher rate. And so, for example, one of my units it's in Tulum. That's where I've got 4 units right now. Tulum, for those of you who don't know, it's about 2 hours south of Cancun by car. Mexico opened its first high-speed train in February of this year, and it's 90 miles an hour to connect Cancun to Tulum. And then in March, they opened Tulum's first international airport. So Tulum is really growing. The city and the region and the country are putting a lot of money into infrastructure for Tulum. And that's one of the reasons that we're there. But my unit there, I'm renting it for less than $800 a month, and we're renting it out for almost $100 a night. And so as it maintains 70% occupancy, that's 21 nights a month times about $100 a night. That's $2,100 a night of income. So you've got $2,100 a month of income. Sorry. So you've got $2,100 a month of income, and then you pay your $800 a month for your monthly lease. And so you've got about a $1,300 a month profit. The company that manages that for us, because again, I don't have the time, I don't want to take the time to do these things. And so all these are passive. So there's a manager in place, and they get paid not based on the revenue, but based on the profit. And so what we collect minus what we pay is in rent is $1,300 a month. They get 20% of that. So 20% of $1,300 is about $260. So you're left with about $1,000 a month. And so that's kind of the illustration that they use based on average occupancy rates, that sort of stuff. And to start that unit, I didn't have to go buy a $150,000 condo or $200,000 condo to do that. I had to invest $10,000. And so that went for the first month's rent, last month's rent, and security deposit, as well as some upgrades to the furnishings, some setup fees, and a few other odds and ends, or just some different miscellaneous expenses. But still, if you can invest $10,000 and then get $1,000 a month for many years, I mean, you've made your money back in 10 months, and it's all profit after that, and a nice profit at that. With one of my favorite perks, anytime I want, I can say, hey, don't rent my unit out for this week. I'm going to go stay there. You're already paying the rent for the month. And so if you want to take a week or two a year and say, hey, don't rent it out those weeks, essentially you don't make money those weeks, but you've got a place to stay. And so that's the easiest example to follow. And I have already I've had that unit barely a month, and I've had 3 tenants stay there already, just in the first few weeks, and I've are almost 900. I want to say it's 875 that I've received in my account so far.
Okay, so that was
just getting started. Yeah.
That was 3 separate bookings. Do you know how long the bookings were?
I don't.
Okay.
I do not know that yet. Just trying to do the math. I mean, the answer is I don't know.
Okay.
None of them were. I don't think any of them were a full week. They were like a long weekend type of thing.
Okay.
4-day weekend, 5-day weekend sort of thing. Yeah.
So that's the first month, and then what's your monthly out of pocket on that one?
So that one, the rent is $727 a month.
So at least you made the rent money back.
Yeah, I've already made the rent money and then some. I rounded up to 800 because it makes the math easier.
Sure.
And there's a couple of little, there's a $30 a month of this, a couple of little odds and ends, but it's still under 800. But yeah, so 800 is my expense. I've already made $75 my first month.
There you go.
But they did say it because it's new to Airbnb, that if you think about it, it takes time to get these things going. Because think about it, if you're going to go on a vacation, you're not going to open it up on a Friday and say, I'm leaving in 3 days, I need a place to stay for a week. I mean, you're usually booking this,
sure,
a month or 2 or 3 or 4 out. And so we're getting bookings now for further down the road. But as far as actual having earned, we've had 3 so far.
Now, did you throw that property individually onto something like AirDNA where it would show you what it thought the returns would be?
I didn't do it by property. I did it by the area.
Okay.
And so I did look at AirDNA. I found out a few things about AirDNA that are interesting. again, they're a data source, or I'm sorry, they're a data supplier. They do not get official data from Airbnb. They have software that scrapes data to the best of their ability.
Okay.
And so it goes to sites and is like, well, these people were advertising this unit at this much and they're no longer advertising it, so they must have filled it.
Right.
The software kind of makes some assumptions based on, well, I don't see it listed anymore, therefore this, or so you don't really know exactly. The data, it's better than no data, but it's not 100%. Hey, this is exactly from Airbnb perfect data. But it's better than nothing.
Sure.
But I did look at that, and it gave me a pretty good idea. It had kind of the average room rates of the area, occupancy. So it does show a lot of that over time. You can look at when are the busy months, when are the slow months, and pretty much most of everything in AirDNA coincided with the information I got from my manager. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So you have another trip coming up for this same project, don't you?
I'm working on it.
All right.
I'm waiting to get another month or two of positive experience in Tulum, but they do have so the manager we work with, they work in many different cities, several in the U.S. and then a few in Caribbean, and I'm looking at opportunities in Jamaica and the Bahamas, and so I'll probably be going to either Jamaica, Bahamas, or both over the next few months to do some additional due diligence.
Okay.
Yeah, and by due diligence, I mean meeting the managers, who's because they have a licensed realtor on the ground that helps find the units, and so I want to talk to that person, get to know that. But also they have people on the ground, that do the cleaning and do the unit management and stuff like that. I want to talk to them about their management experience, but then also just to physically see, okay, hey, it looks right in the picture. Is this unit as nice as it looks? Is the area as nice as it looks? That sort of stuff. And so just getting a feel for the area is the reason for going down.
Absolutely. So what do you see as the future for unbroken investing as it moves forward?
Well, I'm trying to, cost myself a job. I love what I do, but I'm doing more and more things that enable the community to function better with or without me. And so I can add more calls without me having to be on every call. And so I can add more opportunities without me being the one person researching every single opportunity. And so it's more and more things to enable for growth, but by doing it so that there's more people involved than just me, and so that it can grow with or without me.
Sounds great. Can anyone join this community? Is it like by invite only, or how does that work?
Anyone can join. We've had, from an age range, we've had the low, I think the youngest was 22. I know we've had a couple, at least one in the 60s that has joined. Most people, they tend to be mid 30s to mid 50s. There's no rule or regulation, but that just seems to be kind of the average. But like I said, we've had them as young as the early 20s and as late as the early to mid 60s. They're from all over the U.S. It's interesting. We do seem to have kind of a cluster in the Midwest and a cluster on the West Coast. I get a lot from California, Washington, and Oregon. I've had quite a few in Seattle area, the Bay Area, Los Angeles. I realize it's not the coast, but I've got quite a few in Arizona. That's still West Coast to me. But yeah, so geographically pretty diverse. I do have international members as well. We've had anywhere from the UK, Australia, Barbados. Trying to think where else. So around the world. So, but they are mostly Americans.
Okay. And I guess if you're going to tell people one thing to help them move forward in their passive income, what would the one piece of advice you would give people?
So, a couple things. Can I give more than one piece of advice?
You sure? I'm not going to limit you.
So, a couple things to think about. When I built my passive cash flow, I was actually at a point where I didn't have a whole lot to start with. And so there's things you can do to create, when I say create money, One quick example is buying a house with seller finance. Okay. And so I bought a house with zero money down because the seller let me pay him off over a 5-year period. Okay. And so for some people, if you're starting with very little money, then you need to find opportunities to kind of create wealth. Okay. And so that's a little bit different than people who have money and are looking to invest for passive cash flow. So just kind of think about that from the standpoint of kind of where you fall. And you may be a little bit of both. Hey, I've got some money, but yeah, I've got more time than money. I've got time to create some wealth. Other people say, I've got a job, I've got this, I'm swamped, I don't have any time to do anything, but I've got money. And so to create, and grow your passive cash flow, you either need to have time or money. Okay. As far as investments to create passive cash flow, again, think about the diversification, and how long, and one thing to factor in is how long is that cash flow going to last? And this is pretty important. So I'm going to share this. When we talk about passive cash flow assets, some are what I call it infinite, which means the cash flow will last as long as I will. Okay. My real estate portfolio, as long as that's maintained, I'm going to collect rent. My property manager is going to collect rent, make him do the work. He's going to collect the rent, maintain it, make repairs, and there's no reason for that to ever end. Okay. And it should go up with inflation as prices increase. Other things, if you've got a dividend stock portfolio and you're just pulling out the dividends, that'll never go away. Okay, you're not eating into the principal; it'll last forever. So some of your investments are going to have passive cash flow forever. Those are infinite. Others are going to be long term. Some examples of those could be a note. I've got a lot of notes that are on a house, on houses that are, the people refinanced or they bought the house 1 or 2 or 3 years ago, and they still have 27, 28 years left on their mortgage. Okay, that cash flow is going to last a long time, but it is going to end at some point. Okay, agriculture is another one. A lot of our agriculture opportunities will last anywhere from 20 to 40 years, which is great, but they do end. And the reason I point that out is, I don't want someone who's 35 years old who builds this portfolio and, hey, I'm making $20,000 a month. I never have to worry about money the rest of my life. And then all of a sudden at around 60, it's all gone. And they go, oh, crap. There's an end to those. Those are long term, but they do end. And then the others are short term. And usually by short term, I just mean either there's a fixed short term, such as 5 years, or we just don't know. And my Amazon store is a great example. Will that be here in 30 years? I hope so. That'd be great. But I'm not counting on it. Okay, hopefully it'll be here in 5 to 7 or 8 years, but I just don't know. And so that's in the short-term category. And the reason we divide them that way is because you'll also see a correlation to returns. The longer the money lasts, the lower the returns are. Dividend stocks, right now, a lot of them are in the 4 to 7% per year range. Okay, real estate, a little bit better than that, but those are lower returns. Whereas the short term, a lot of these we're making 10% per month. Okay, the fund I mentioned, again, I think that'll be around for 5 to 10 years. They've got a 10-year plan, as a matter of fact. But that's 10% a month, but it's not going to last forever. Now, the rental arbitrage, again, that's 10% a month. The Amazon store, that's even higher than that. But you don't know how long that's going to last. And so I suggest looking at it from generating a lot of passive cash flow with a higher return, short-term investments, and then use that money to buy more long-term and infinite cash flow assets. That was a long explanation, but hopefully that made sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. I love the concept. So we do have a few live viewers, and I thank them. If any of the live viewers have any questions for Steve, we are getting around 45 minutes, so we're going to wrap this up in the next 5 or 10 minutes. But throw them in the chat on YouTube, and I'll read them to Steve. And then, Steve, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What does it cost to join your community?
$1 million.
$1 million? Million.
But there's a sale. No.
But if you act now.
No, it is $97 a month.
Okay, $97 a month. And can people earn referrals in your group? If they refer their friends to the group, what do they get for that?
They actually get a pretty good referral fee. It is 50%. And the reason for that is to help foster growth. The more members we have, the more people we have bringing in investments, the more members we have, the more people we have, more eyes we have doing due diligence and looking at opportunities. And so there's just a lot of benefits to making the group larger. And I would rather be generous with that structure. And again, because it's 50% not just of the first month, but of all future months. And so if someone, if you go out and you're picking up 2, 3, 4 people a month that join, you're making a pretty good living, not too far down the road. You're building passive cash flow. What a concept.
I like it. In fact, I'm going to throw my referral link in here because I'm all about referral links. But seriously, so it's most things like this that have a monthly fee don't give a referral bonus every month. They just upfront, it's the first month and that's it. So I really like that. That's great. Someone who goes out and recruits and builds a group and community could build, maybe not, they're not making a ton of money, but a couple $100 a month of passive cash flow just through this.
Well, and I started looking at if you bring on 2 a month, okay, that's not exactly full-time job, right? 2 a month.
Sure.
In a year, you've got 24 at almost $50 a month. I mean, that's $1,200 a month.
Absolutely.
I mean, so bring on 2 a month in a year, you're making $1,200. If you put more effort into it, you can do even better than that. But I just I wanted to be generous with that because it fits in with the model of we want to help you build passive cash flow.
I like it. Absolutely. So we're going to kind of wrap this up. Nobody threw any questions in there.
No questions.
At the end, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about or tell us about your group that we haven't brought up yet?
Let me think.
Should I play some music while you think?
Play some music.
There you go.
No. Nothing comes to my mind. You've asked a lot of good questions. I think we've covered most of it. Talked about diversification, passive cash flow. And again, one thing I'll talk about passive cash flow is just getting over that mental hurdle that I feel like most people are kind of brainwashed. You buy low, you sell high. They
Sure.
think that the stock market is how you make money. You find the right tech stock or whatever, and you buy low and sell high, and that's the only way to make money. And the analogy I use is gold. It's like if you've got a pot of gold, hopefully it goes up in value, but at some point, in order for you to use that, you've got to take money out and spend it. Okay,
Right.
It's not generating passive cash flow. Whereas if you go get a goose that lays golden eggs, and you just spend whatever those golden eggs are generating, you'll never run out of money. Okay, and so to start thinking about if you want financial freedom, it's not how big of a pile of gold do you need. It's how do you generate enough passive cash flow to cover your monthly expenses, how to make sure that passive cash flow grows with inflation, and how to make sure that it lasts as long as you do. If you've done those 3 things, you have financial freedom. And you don't have to wait 20 to 30 years to build a big pile to do it. You can do it in 5 years or less for most people.
Absolutely. Especially with some of the high yield stuff that we've looked at, anywhere from 10% a month to 10% a quarter to 30% annually.
Yeah.
And some of that was even, I think we looked at one last month that was 30% annually backed by first lien holder on real estate, right?
That is correct.
So
that is correct.
That's really interesting. And I do, we've talked about some other things, and I think maybe we won't get into them now, but I really think this is something that moving forward, this is going to be a great group to be a member of. So I will throw up a couple links in this video also. We talked about the Walnut Fund and some agriculture before, and so I kind of said we didn't need to touch on that again. But we might come back. I really would like to see some returns on the agriculture part on that. In fact, they sent me they do owe me for the intercrop fee on the mangoes. They sent me they sent me an email and said, you're not signed up for this, so we owe you money. So that's good. I haven't gotten it yet, but I think we've got everything set up on the dashboard so I can get paid on that.
Good.
So hopefully we can get some of that'll work.
Yeah, I've gotten some of my small ones from some of the mangoes and the which other I think the avocado I got a little bit from that as well, but just getting started. So and for those of you who haven't seen the other video, those are usually 25 years of cash flow. And think about when you plant a tree, it takes 2 to 3, maybe 4 years before you can get a harvest from it. And so that's why some of these cash flows haven't started yet, is because like I said, mine are just starting. The good news is my 3-year-old mango trees had a few mangoes, but it's a very, very young, small tree. It didn't have very many mangoes.
So did you do the one where you bought the 3-year-old trees?
So I originally bought new trees 3 years ago.
Okay.
So freshly planted seeds in the ground 3 years ago. And so that now is generating revenue. But then I took advantage of we get these opportunities quite a bit. And again, it's another reason to make sure that you connect through us. Because with our mango, one of the mango companies we use, they let us have first right to anyone who needs to sell their trees early. And so what happened was a gentleman was going through a divorce, and as part of that, he was forced to liquidate his position. And so he had to sell his trees, and they happened to be 3 years old. And so just a couple of months ago, I bought more of those. And so those will start paying out later this year because they're already 3 years old.
So
I've got,
go ahead.
Yeah, a couple batches. No,
So
I have a couple
3-year-old
batches. The ones I
trees.
bought 3 years ago and the ones I bought 3 months ago.
So on your 3-year-old trees, can you tell us how much money on a small tree that didn't make much? How much did that make you this year?
I'd have to check the numbers. It's between 3 and 5%.
Okay. So
which in my mind is terrible. But you compare that to a CD or something, and it's about normal. But if you look at how a tree grows, you see that number go up each and every year. The trees get bigger.
Sure.
They produce more produce, and you sell by the pound. So the bigger the trees are, the more you're going to make, and the higher the prices go. It's tied to the price of food. And so the way you get paid, it's amount of harvest, by weight times the market price. And the trees grow, and the price goes up, and your income just keeps going up.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're right just under an hour, so I think we're going to wrap it up. Thank you very much for joining us once again.
My pleasure.
Haven't caught it? This is Steve Lawson from Unbroken Investing. There is a link in the chat, and I'm just checking. Nobody asked any questions, and we're down to one viewer who stuck it out for a long time. So I thank them.
Hi, Mom.
Right, and I hope to see you guys in the Unbroken Investing chat.
All right. Thanks so much.
All right.
Have a good day.
All right. We